What's up, Lifehouse Newport News, and welcome to Lifehouse Online.
We always say, no matter if you're messed up, dressed up, or tatted up, you are welcome at Lifehouse.
Which that pretty much means anyone and everyone watching right now, or who should be watching right now.
I sensed a subtle hint there, Lacey.
Your senses are accurate, Kamaria. I think whoever's watching right now needs to invite or tag a friend who needs some Jesus in their life.
Or share the video of their timeline.
Or send a text invite.
One of those audio texts.
They could email too.
Or direct message.
Ooh, phone call.
Whoa, do people even answer their phones anymore?
Not if they don't recognize the number.
Me either. You know, if I get one more IRS scam call.
Smoke signal.
What?
Never mind, most people would call the fire department anyway.
Clearly, we want y'all to invite your friends to join us this morning with whatever means necessary. But if you're already watching and are new to Lifehouse Online,
we want to say a huge welcome.
We know this isn't the traditional way you experience church, but we still want to give you the VIP treatment.
All we ask is that you fill out the digital connection card so we can send you a virtual gift card this week.
I hope you like Starbucks.
And we would love to connect with anyone new to Lifehouse Online face-to-face through a private Zoom meet and greet immediately following the service. We'll be there.
And so will Pastor John and some of the other leaders. It's the perfect opportunity to get to know us and ask questions about our church or what you experienced today.
Accessing the Zoom meet and greet link is super easy. If you're on Facebook, just click on the link in the comment thread.
If you're on our broadcast platform, simply click on the Connect With Us link located in the menu bar.
And speaking of the menu bar, you should see other options like app, give, connection card, and groups. These are provided as quick and convenient access to all things Lifehouse.
You may want to download our newly designed app so you can access the sermon notes or listen to our podcast later on this week.
Give takes you straight to our online giving portal, givetolifehouse.com, the safe and secure way to invest into the mission and vision of Lifehouse.
Groups take you to our full listing of online life groups. With over 25 groups, there's bound to be something for every age, stage, and schedule.
So church, it's about to start, and we want to give you 3 tips to really maximize your experience.
Tip number 1,
promote. But we're not going to go into all that because
Okay.
we've already covered it earlier. Just
All right.
share the Facebook video, send the text, what you got to do. Tip number 2, focus. Turn off all the devices, all the browsers. Make sure that you stay with us to the very end.
Tip number 3,
Respond.
Just like you would if we were at the theater. Move your hands, sing, take notes, throw a comment, preach it, pastor, whatever you got to do to fully immerse yourself in the experience.
Lifehouse family, I sure hope you're ready for God to meet you right where you're at today.
So as always, drop some praise hands in the comment section, give your virtual neighbor an air high five or air hug.
And join us when we say,
Let's go!
What's up, Lifehouse fam, wherever you're at? Would you join us in worship this morning? Do a very familiar song. I encourage you to even just put your hands together. Worship with your family. Sing When Night Has Fallen. When night has fallen and fear is coming, still you're calling me. When faith is lost and my hope exhausted, you will be my strength. When my mind says I'm not good enough, God, you're enough for me. I've decided I'm not giving up. You won't give up on me. You won't give up on me. Your love is running on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo. Your love is running on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo in my soul. Sing in every season. In every season, you keep repeating promises to. Come on, sing it out. Now there's no stopping what you have started till it is complete. When my mind says I'm not good enough, God, you're enough for me. I've decided let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo, echo in my soul. Echo in my soul. When my mind says I'm not good enough, God, you're enough for me. I've decided I'm not giving up. You won't give up on me. You won't give up on me. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo in my soul. Echo in my soul. I'm gonna sing this chorus. It's holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like, one more time. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo. Like an echo, an echo. Like an echo, an echo. Thank you, Jesus. I encourage you, wherever you are at right now, in your house, with your family, by yourself, whoever, and wherever, that you would just open up your heart. We're singing these songs all about His love, and when the night is falling, and we might be afraid, we might be fearful, we have nothing to be afraid of. God's love provides everything that we need in that moment. He provides the strength we need. He provides everything that we could possibly actually need. Even when we look around and people, seem to have it all together, they have everything going on, everything's right. Even in a disaster, even in a pandemic, things just seem so much better. What God would have you understand is that the love that He gives you, the love that He has for you, provides everything that you truly need. And so we can rest in His love, we can rest in His grace, we can rest in His strength. We have no reason to be jealous of what other people have or what other people are doing, because we have the true love that comes only from our Father. So we're going to sing one more song about His love. And it's one that we all know. And if you're comfortable, would you just lift your hands and accept the love of God this morning? He is jealous for me. It loves like a hurricane. I am a tree bending beneath the weight of His wind and mercy. When all of a sudden I am unaware of these afflictions eclipsed by glory, and I realize just how beautiful You are and how great Your affections are for me. And oh, how He loves us all. Oh, how He loves us, how He loves us so. Oh, how He loves, thank You for Your love. Sing He is jealous, sing that one more time. He is jealous for me. He loves like a hurricane. I am a tree bending beneath the weight of His wind and mercy. When all of a sudden I am unaware of these afflictions eclipsed by glory, and I realize just Your affections are for me. And oh, how He loves us. Oh, how He loves us. How He loves us so. Sing, we are His portion. And we are His portion. He is our prize, drawn to redemption by the grace in His eyes. If His grace is an ocean, we're all sinking. So heaven meets earth like a sloppy wet kiss in my heart turns violently inside of my head. I don't have time to maintain these regrets when I think about the way He loves us. Oh, how He loves us. Oh, how He loves us. Oh, how He loves. Sing it again. He loves us. Oh, how He loves us. Oh, how He loves us. Oh, how He loves. We thank You for Your love, Jesus. How He loves us. Oh, how He loves. Oh, how He loves. Oh, how He loves us. So we sing it back to You, Jesus. And we love You. Oh, how we love You. Oh, how we love You. Oh, how we love. Wherever you're at, would you sing? We love You. Oh, how we love You. Oh, how we love You. Oh, how we love. And God, You're so good. God, You're so good. God, You're so good. You're so good to me. One more time. We say, God, You're so good. God, You're so good. Oh, God, You're so good. You're so good to me.
Hello, everyone. Before we continue our service today, we want to say a huge welcome to all of our guests who are with us for the first, second, or third time. For being our guest today, we want to send you a digital gift card as a small way to say thank you for joining us. And to get you that gift, we simply need to know who you are. And to know who you are, we kindly ask that you fill out the connection card located at the top hand corner of your screen. One of our online service hosts will post the link in the comment thread right now. And we encourage you to join us online a few more times to see if Lifehouse Newport News could possibly be a place that you call your church home. We have an incredible church family that we would love for you to get to know once we're able to meet again at the Regal Kiln Creek Theater. But honestly, we'd love the opportunity to meet you today, so stick around after the service for a Zoom meet and greet with Pastor John and some of the other Lifehouse leadership team. I'll be there, and I hope you will be as well. Accessing the Zoom link is easy. If you're on the broadcast platform, click the Connect with Us link in the menu bar. If you're watching from Facebook, simply click the link noted in the pinned comment section in the comment thread. And of course, if this is your church home, welcome home. Don't forget, the online connection card is not just for guests. It's for anyone who wants more information about taking your next steps, which could include baptism, joining a life group, or getting involved in serving our city. It's also a great way to let us know you'd like to speak to a leader or submit a prayer request. You can also find all these options, listen to past sermons, access the sermon guide, take notes, get more information on events, and more at the Lifehouse Newport News app available on your favorite app store. During the season of social distancing, now more than ever, it's important that we don't do life alone, which is why we've revamped our life groups to keep you connected and growing in your faith with the help of other believers, all through an online life group experience. And trust me, there's a group for you. We have topics and themes for every age, schedule, and stage of life. For more information or to sign up, click the link the online service hosts are putting in the comment section. Of course, you can always find them at lifehousenn.com. Whether you're joining us for the first time or if Lifehouse is your church home, we want to take a moment to let you know that although we're not able to meet together on Sundays, the ministry reach and impact of Lifehouse Church hasn't and will not stop. We are and will continue to love and serve people, help those through financial hardships, respond to personal and communal crises as needed, continue being for our city, and move forward in our mission of helping all people experience life change through Christ by following Jesus, doing life together, getting in the game, and leaving a legacy. In light of this, we want to encourage you to be faithful in giving to fuel the vision and mission at Lifehouse. You can give your tithes and offerings safely and securely and easily by clicking the Giving tab at the top or corner of your screen. You can also go to givetolifehouse.com. Thank you again for joining us today. So get your heart, mind, and spirit ready for what God wants to speak to you through this message.
What's up, Lifehouse fam? Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are in part 5 of our series, Got Struggles, and you are in for a treat today. We have with us from Lifehouse, Virginia Beach, Uncle Brandon Shank. Many of you know him. He spoke back in, I think it was October of 2019. He's an incredible communicator, one of personally my best friends on the planet here, and he has generously agreed to come and pour into us for part 5 of this series. Please feel sorry for him. He is a Washington Redskins fan, and so, just be in prayer for him as he processes through Chase Young, a terrible draft pick, all that stuff moving forward. Honestly, though, you are going to be encouraged today, strengthened today. He's an incredible preacher. Give it up as Brandon Shea comes and brings the word to us today. Hey, man, we got to social distance, bro. You know what I'm saying, man? You know what I'm saying? That's right.
Love you. It's so great, as always, to be with y'all. Driving across the water to get here, I just remembered years ago sitting down with your pastor, John Ware, at Chipotle. I had been asked to come over to do some retreats when he was a youth pastor, and I just remember sitting and I was thinking about the conversations. It's funny because every time I leave Virginia Beach to come over here, I almost always think about that conversation, regardless of what I'm coming for, and just remembering the vision and this youth pastor that had this passion to start a church right here, and seeing what has happened and what God's done with him and Kristen. And it's just been amazing. It's always a pleasure to be with y'all. It's always a pleasure to be here today, and to really be at the back end of this series to kind of bring, hey, they say the best for last. Let's bring in the caboose right now. Let's go hard. I'm excited to be with you, though, and I'm praying that God is going to do incredible things. Let's pray, and we're going to jump into it. Father, we need you. God, we need your presence right there in those living rooms, on their phones, in vehicles. God, wherever they are sitting, I pray that right now they would know you're still with them, that the church is present and it's powerful and effective. And today I just pray this word will go forth and it would be heavy in the hearts of the people, and that they would know that you love them, you are so proud of them, you're going to do great things through them in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, this message series, God Struggles, y'all have talked about a lot of cool things. If you struggle, you're in good company. We all know that. We've talked about faith. We've talked about identity. We've talked about fear. And today's title is simple. It's called It's Too Good to Be True. Come on, just say it out loud. And if you're by yourself, say it to yourself. If you're with somebody, turn to them and say, it's too good to be true. I'm going to talk to you about contentment. The thing about contentment that's interesting is that when you're truly content, you actually have this thought quite a bit. Of, man, this is just too good to be true. I didn't know that life could actually look like this. So throughout these couple of minutes that we have together, I'm going to do a fair amount of confessing. I'm going to lay myself out there a little bit to let you know some contentment. I don't want to say issues. I would just say it's a straight problem that I've had in my life. Contentment, you're usually in one of two places. The one place is saying, no matter what I do, no matter how successful I am, no matter how many kids I have, no matter what I drive, no matter what value I find, whether it's on social media or in money, it's never enough. And it's not that it's never enough because you're an awful person. It's that there is this fight for your vision. There's a fight for direction. There's a fight for you to be locked in, right? And so there's this concept that it's just never enough. But then the flip side of that, where maybe some of you are sitting, is saying, well, man, it's good. Life is good. I don't really need for anything else. I'm just chilling. I'm loving life. I'm enjoying where I'm at. One says it'll never be enough no matter what. And the other position says, man, I could just stop right now and I would be happy with the rest of my life. Neither one of those are a healthy version of contentment. You see, God's definition of contentment is having the faith to know that God will set me up and then trusting him to do it. Which means you have to let go of the humility and control, or actually have some humility and let go of the control that we try to have. We want contentment, but on our terms. Contentment isn't a physical term. It's a spiritual term. It's something that means much more than what you have and how you're valued. It's a different type of alignment than that. I think that for me, there has been a lot of scenarios of issues with contentment that I've had. One, I remember I got this Toyota Camry. This is back in probably 2007. The new body styles came out, had some nice rims on it, these chromes. I was driving around feeling like I was worth $1 million. And just I felt so good in this car. I felt like this was me. If I was a car, I was this Camry with these nice rims. And I remember pulling up next to this really nice SUV. I'd only had the car for maybe 8 months. Really nice SUV. And I looked to the side, and I realized at that point that I couldn't even see the driver, and the driver probably couldn't see my rinky-dink little car because the SUV sat higher than my car. And I remember in that moment thinking, I don't want a car with some rims. I want an SUV where I feel bigger than everybody else. And so you know what I did? 2 years later, I went and bought a bigger SUV that sat up. But you know what the problem was, that big SUV? As I lived in Missouri, in this particular city in Missouri called Springfield, the roads were a little tighter. And I didn't feel like driving this big SUV in heavy traffic all the time. And so what I did was I took my wife's 2-door little sports car and I zipped around town in that. Why? I liked the truck if I was on a big road trip, but I didn't feel like driving it around all the time. I wasn't content no matter what I did. I got 4 boys. I love my 4 boys. They're great 4 boys. They're good-looking 4 boys. My wife and I live in Virginia Beach in the ocean front. We got nice stuff, nice cars, a nice home. We are home owners. We got a great church, a great community. And I love all these things. And I don't want for anything else. I'm content. Until I meet somebody that has better kids than mine. They act better, and their cars have a little more upgrades than mine got. And they have a house in the ocean front, except for theirs is nicer, a little closer to the water. And they have a community too. It's just their community is what I deem maybe their community is a little more supportive, right? And I thought I was a great church planter. I love planting a church, man. 2014, raw, charge the hill. I planted a church, and we were crushing it. We were seeing people saved and people baptized, and I thought that we were the church plant of all church plants. The world will never be the same. And then Lifehouse Newport News launched, and I felt like I did nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's just the way it goes. Then John Ware comes along and ends up planting this church, and 14 million people come to know Jesus in the first 3 months. It's like, what am I doing? I'm nothing. You see, not to be funny, but the reality is, comparison is always going to contradict calling. The contentment and your comparison is always going to go against the calling that God's got in your life. And you don't realize, but as you go further, if Satan can get you to look sideways, then God won't be able to get you to look forward. He can get you comparing and worrying about where everything is at, but the comparison and the contentment is absolutely going to be that arch rival of the calling that God has on your life. It is a distraction method, and the reality is every one of us have fallen into it. We're not awful for doing it, but this is where we can say, no, I'm going to pause, and I'm going to recognize today that this isn't going to be the case anymore. There's a story that many of you may have heard in Matthew chapter 19, the rich man that comes to Jesus. I don't want to get stuck on this because that's not, I don't want to use that avenue as to he got to get rid of his stuff and that's what contentment is. That's not the point of what I want to tell you. But Jesus gets asked by this man who had a lot, what do I need to do to inherit eternal life? What do I need to do to go to heaven? And what it says in Matthew chapter 19, verse 20, Jesus tells him, he says, well, you got to obey my commandments. And his response to Jesus, when Jesus says, obey all my commandments, he says, well, I've obeyed these commandments. And he says, what else must I do? Okay, I've done what you said. I've been a good person. I've not killed anyone. I'm honoring my parents. I'm not doing anything to go against the 10 Commandments. So what else? And you might think, well, that's enough. And when you read the parable, if you really read it, it's about salvation, but really the bigger picture, Jesus isn't saying that you can't make it to heaven. What he's saying is you can never be full. And it goes on in verse 21. Jesus told him, if you want, and this is such a random way to write this verse, or to say this verse, but it says, if you want to be perfect, go and sell all your possessions and give your money to the poor and you'll have treasure in heaven, and then come and follow me. You see, Jesus didn't say he couldn't follow him if he didn't sell all of his possessions. That's not what he said. Jesus is saying, if you want to be in the best place, get rid of all this stuff and then come, because Jesus knew that there would be a contradiction. Jesus knew that there would be a competition for who he was going to serve. It wasn't that he couldn't go to heaven with stuff. It's not even what Jesus is saying. Jesus is saying, have you done the 10 Commandments? He said, yeah, I've done these things. I've been faithful to these things. He said, okay, well, you really want to know? And then he uses this weird word, perfect. Well, that's not what Jesus meant in the way we think of it, right? Well, what Jesus meant is that word perfect, it means complete. What Jesus was saying to him is, you've done all the right things, but if you want to be complete, and content, a spiritual position, then you need to go ahead and get rid of this. The thing is, if you won't stay unless you're content. Jesus knew this man with all of his stuff, there would be a point where he was going to have to make a decision, because that contentment, that spiritual position, he was going to have to make a decision as to what was more valuable in his life. And not that you can't have stuff, but we get it mixed up. We always define contentment as a physical place. And it's not. Contentment, it's too good to be true. That's the reality of contentment. It is too good to be true in our life. And if you go on to Matthew chapter 19, verse 27, I love what you got to love Peter. Peter, the disciple, always chopping people's ears off and always being the one outspoken, walking on water. But Peter said to Jesus, he says, okay, well, we've given up everything, meaning the 12 disciples, we've given up everything to follow you. So what are we going to get? Peter asked this question because the disciples did give up everything. But Peter wasn't asking it as a way to question Jesus. He's asking it because he's excited that he won something. Okay, we follow 10 Commandments. Okay, what's the next thing? Jesus said, well, you got to get rid of this stuff. Get rid of it. And Peter said, okay, we've done that. What are we in? It's almost like Price is Right. Come on down. You won. Peter's like, okay, we've done this. What do we get? And Jesus responds to him, and it says, Jesus replied, I assure you, that when the world is made new and the Son of Man sits upon his glorious throne, come on, somebody. He says, you who have been my followers will also sit on the 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. So he's saying, you guys are going to be right next to me in all this. You have given up everything. You're the starters. Without you guys, the church isn't going to start. He says, and you're going to be sitting here. And then he goes on and he says, and everyone who has given up houses or brothers or sisters or father or mother or children or property for my sake will receive 100 times as much in return and will inherit eternal life. Now, the reason this is interesting because this is not an exact number. It's a figure of speech. It's not a technical number of if you give up 100. What Jesus is saying is, I'm going to do more in your life than you'll ever imagine, but the reward that you think you've gotten here isn't even the reward. I'm going to give you a reward on this side of heaven, but the reward I have coming is greater than anything you can even think, ask, or imagine. You see, when you're battling contentment in society, it's about contentment in status. But when you're resting in God's contentment, it's about everybody else. When you're thinking about how can I be content around here, you're thinking about, am I happy with my success? Do I have enough followers? Does the vision of my life, is it filling what I think it should be? Do I have a business plan? Do I have a marketing plan? Do I have a strategy financially for my life? It's all about us. It's all about how we can go somewhere. It's all about how we can be better. It's all about how we can be something different. And what God's plan is saying, no, if you're content in the things of me, you're focused on everybody else because you're not worried about all these things. Doesn't mean you're irresponsible and negligent. It's saying that they're not a priority, but me using you and having my word in you and being something powerful is the priority in your life. I mean, this is so fascinating to me because I don't know how it is for you, but the hardest thing for me is to get over me. The hardest thing for me to do is to think about you before I think about me. You know how hard it is for me whenever I post something on Instagram that I'm a little insecure about to think about you? No, I think about how you'll respond and what it'll make me look like. I don't think about how it's going to affect your life most of the time. I think about how it could possibly negatively affect mine. You know, like I'm not thinking about you. Why? Because we worry about our image. We worry about the perception. We worry about what people think. And what happens is that is us battling a contentment, thinking, I'll just be happy here. If you're battling contentment in your life, once you get one thing under wraps and under control, there's going to be something else that you're going to be trying to juggle. Contentment's never going to be found on this side of heaven. It's not a place of rest that you can find here. It's a place of rest you can find in Him. I like nice things. I don't apologize for that. I like conveniences. I don't apologize for that. There's a lot of things my wife and I won't spend money on, but one thing we do is we like to eat well, and when we travel, we like to stay in nice places. You know, my wife and I go away on an anniversary vacation. I'm not trying to cut the budget by staying at somewhere that isn't nice. I want to stay somewhere nice. I don't want to come back with a rash from where I slept. I don't want to have to use soap that somebody already used. I don't want to have to hope that nobody breaks in the door in the middle of the night. I want to stay somewhere nice. That's not too much to ask, right? But you got to figure out where you want to, that's just figuring out what you like, what your preference is. But that's not contentment. You can come back from a time away, and I've done it, and be more miserable than when you left, not because of the company you're with, but because you're miserable. But because now you're facing a new reality. Maybe you're coming back from vacation, and you don't want to get back to work. You don't want to have to go back to your life. Well, that's not because your life is the problem. It's because our contentment is the problem. We're at this place where we just can't find rest. We're at a place where we can't find rest in our normal everyday life. You know, you can't escape an issue with contentment, but you can align spiritually to a place where it's not an issue. That's what Jesus is trying to speak to this rich young ruler about. He says, listen, you're doing all the right things. And he says, what do I need to do? And he said, just get rid of your stuff. Are you going to hell if you haven't gotten rid of it? No. I just know that it's going to be the thing that holds you up unless you're willing to. See, we don't know the end of this story. We know that he walked away, but what we don't know is that had he done that, what he would have become. What would he have become? Because if Jesus is giving us those things after this earth, what would he have even given back to that man on this earth? I mean, you have the story of Job where he multiplied over and over and over and over and over, and all these disciples, they might not have, some of these disciples, they had financial resources, but some of these disciples, they were more content in their sufferings than they ever were whenever they were running their businesses. Contentment is not a place that you can get to financially. It's not the amount in a 401k. Contentment is not a place where you say, man, I'm finally good. Because if you've arrived somewhere, you're still not content. Contentment is a place within you that is just okay, regardless of circumstance. And you say, well, how do we get there? What does that look like? I would love to tell you that I know. I think in seasons I do. I think I'm still figuring that out. I can be very selfish. My wife and I last October, we bought an RV, and it was a lot longer and a lot bigger than I had ever wanted to buy. But we have 4 kids, and my wife saw this one that she wanted, And we thought, you know what? This is the right one. She says that she got in the back of that thing and the Lord spoke to her, like, this is good. It's okay to have these things. So we bought it, and I didn't even have a truck. And so after we bought it, I went and had to buy a truck. And so my wife recently put us online. There's a Facebook group called RVs for MDs. And basically what it is you take your RV to somebody's home who's on the front lines with this coronavirus, and they're serving coronavirus patients. They're working in the hospitals. And you're basically providing an RV so that they can stay at their house, but they won't be in proximity to their family. Like, they have no place to stay. Some of these doctors are staying outside on their decks in tents. And so I'll be honest, when my wife told me about this, I'm thinking, man, we just got this thing. We're going to send it somewhere we don't even know, and we got to figure out a way to get it in. All the things about me, about inconveniences, about Brandon, about how you just bought it, about money. It was all about me. And my wife, thank goodness, she is such a better human than me. She was like, this is what we need to do. God has given this to us as a gift. It wasn't by happenstance. He gave it to us last fall. He was in time for this. And I'm thinking, well, he should have waited till next year. We didn't have to do this, right? That was my heart. It was not good. And it was because I was being selfish. Well, this is our vacation. This is what we do when we go on vacation. We don't just get, it was just all about me. It was about my stuff. It was about protecting something that I didn't even earn, but God gave it as a gift. And recently we've got hooked up with somebody who needs this. And I can tell you the greatest feeling is when you can actually give somebody something that you have that can benefit their life. I love to tell you, man, I just felt so good about it. I felt like I did the right thing. No, I was the one the whole time that in my spirit, I knew it was the right thing, but in my spirit, I was like, man, I hope nobody calls. I hope nobody calls, man. I hope this thing falls through. Nobody wants this old janky RV. Nobody wants this thing. And I was praying that prayer. Why? Because it was about me. And the Lord, he checked me. He just said, hey, man, you don't have to do this. You don't have to. You're not a bad person for it. But if you're not careful, this type of thing can keep you from me. Because my heart isn't seeing through. It's not being seen. People aren't going to be able to see it. Doesn't mean you have to give everything you got, but I believe it's very clear in Scripture. It says if you got something your neighbor needs, then give it to him. I wish I could tell you that contentment is my MO. It's what I'm known for. It's not. Just like you, I like to be known for things. Just like you, I like to know, look at my success. Look at what God has done through my life, and I've had to battle those things. Why? Because there's something deep within Brandon Shank that still needs validation. And at times I've found that in things that aren't God. And because of that, God's saying, I need you to sell those things. Some of the greatest ministers in the church are those who have resources the rest of us don't, that help push the church forward financially. Absolutely. They're gifts to the local church. But with contentment, people with that kind of resource doesn't look at it as something they have. They look at it as something that they're stewarding for God. It's a different picture. At the very end of this, in verse 30, Jesus tells them, he says, many of the people, this is the end of the conversation. He said, many of the people who are the greatest now, they'll be the least important then. And he's talking about after this life, on the other side, in heaven. He said, and then those who seem the least important now, they're going to be the greatest then. What world are you living in? Are you living in the now with what people see? Your body is aging. You're closer to death right now than you were before I started speaking. I'm sorry. It's just the reality of it. You got less time right now than you had before. Thanks for spending it with me. I'm glad I got to spend it with you. But what world are you living in? Are you living in the world right now and what you see around you in Newport News and Hampton and Virginia Beach and Portsmouth and Suffolk and Chesapeake or James City or Williamsburg? Are you living in the now or are you living in the then, saying, God, I'm not planting seeds to get a reward. I'm doing things because I'm hoping that everything I touch you will be seen. That's what I want people to see. I think it seems like the ones that seem like they have everything now are going to have nothing then, right? And then the ones who have everything then, there's nothing now, it's going to seem like they have everything then. And there's people who have a lot now that'll have a lot then. And why? It's not because of a financial position. It's saying, what are you positioning God to do in your life? There's a couple of thoughts. The one is this. Contentment is based on measurement. It's completely based on measurement. Society, if you base your contentment on society, you'll always have more than enough or not enough. You're going to always look around and look at people and say, man, I'm better than them. Or you look at somebody who has more and you say, man, I'm not as good as them. You'll never be content. You'll always say it's more or not enough. There's never a place of peace. But when God, you're going to measure in the spiritual. There'll always be a death. There's always going to be hurt. There's always going to be pain. There's always going to be conflict. There's always going to be crisis. The world's contentment is unstable. It's like a stock market type of faith. You don't ever know what you're going to get. But God's contentment is unchanging, and it never changes. What's your measurement? Are you measuring against the spiritual things? Are you measuring against the world? It is fragile. It is a joke. It is such a letdown when you find out I have gotten things that I have attained to do, and I am not the better for it. The only thing in my life that I am better for is allowing God to break me in places that I was insecure and unsure about. Because it helps me to see him. You know, it says in my weakness, you're my strength, but you don't really know who God is until you're at a place of brokenness, not humiliation. Humiliation sometimes is just a response to pride. I'm talking about brokenness. I'm talking about a place where you yearn for a touch from your dad. You need Jesus to fill a void that's seemingly unfillable. I believe that's what he wants to do with you today. Your contentment could be linked to something you experienced. It could be linked to what you see on a phone or on your computer. It could be linked to the tragedy surrounding us. It could be linked to PTSD, or it could be linked to a plethora of things. But the great thing is you have the choice. You can unlink it from that and link it right into the things of God and say, Lord, I'm not willing to let this stuff be the thing that holds me back. I'm not willing. I don't want to live a life to get through on this side. I want to grow through this. I want to be something great. I want to do something that I never thought I could do. But the second thing is this. So contentment, it's based on measurement. But the second is contentment. It's not a physical condition. It's spiritual alignment. It's not a place you can get to. It's not a thing you can attain. It's not something you can accomplish. It's not a value that you can finally get to. It's not a numeric value that you can finally succeed to. It's not a home size that you can finally graduate to. It's not the amount of bathrooms or bedrooms in a home or the amount of garage space you have for your cars, and regardless of what kind of cars they are. It's not about the influence that you have or the amount of followers that you have or how long it takes for 10,000 people to like a picture. That is not contentment. Contentment is being aligned with the things of God and knowing you love people, but they don't determine your value. They don't determine your push. They don't determine your steps. They don't determine your swag. They don't determine how you see things. They don't determine how you regurgitate things. They don't determine how you ingest the things of God. They don't determine how you feel about the King of Kings. They don't determine it, because that's called faith. And faith is such a crazy thing because it's something you're supposed to believe in, although you can't see it, which makes no sense. And that's why it's called faith. That is spiritual alignment. Saying I'm locked in and I sure don't know what's going on, but I don't need to, because I am content in the King of Kings and he's got this. And I'm going to be humble and broken enough to let him take it. And I'm going to let go of control. You know, years ago, probably 6 years ago, I got off of social media. And at the time, I thought it was because I was doing a spiritual thing. I thought that I was stepping into the next realm of what God had for my life. Little did I know, it was actually at the beginning of a very big season of my life where I was going to go through multiple counselors. I was going to be diagnosed with childhood PTSD. And some of you may remember some of my story from October when I shared diagnosed and walking through, suicidal depression. I had no idea this stuff was deep within me. I just knew that there was this thing in me that wasn't good. I didn't know that it was years and years and years and years and years of buried emotion and pain and hurt and anger and resentment and frustration that had gotten to a place that I needed God to move in a way that only God can move. I didn't know that. But what I knew is that when I got off of Facebook and I didn't have Instagram, I don't even know what that looked like back then. 6 years ago, I don't know I don't know what Instagram was then. I just know I didn't have anything. And so over the years, I had jumped on and off of Instagram a tiny bit, but I just stayed off of everything until 2 weeks ago. I got back on Facebook because with everything happening, it had been about 5 or 6 weeks in, and I don't have a Facebook account. I just didn't really do anything with Instagram. I had gotten off it. I jumped back onto those because I know they're like kind of the go-tos, and before I started exploring other social media options that are out there. And immediately I just started friending everybody that I knew, and I started getting all these friends back. And what I realized is like, man, we've gotten old. I was like, whoa, man, we've gotten old. I'm glad I don't look that old. And I looked at pictures. I was like, bro, you don't look like you're not a high schooler either. You've gotten old, you know? And so I just realized, man, we've gotten old. And I realized their people's lives have moved on. I asked my wife, I was like, I didn't know she got married. And Casey said, yeah, she got married 2 years ago. I was like, I have been out of touch with all of reality. I'm telling you, I could not believe what I was seeing. Congratulations on the kids. All 3 of them didn't know. I mean, I had no idea what I was missing out on. I felt like it was the weirdest feeling. It was the weirdest feeling. I did that on a Friday night probably 2 weeks ago. Saturday morning, I wake up. I get out of bed and I'll stand thinking, have I been put in a time capsule or warp speed ahead? What has happened to my life? I felt like I had inherited hundreds of friends that I now had, that I was reconnected with from childhood, that I had no idea where their life was at. And now it was like we're buddies again. I couldn't wait to read up and see what was going on in their life. I was the ultimate Facebook stalker for anybody who said, yes, I know all about your life, because I couldn't wait to figure out what you've been doing for the last 6 years. Congratulations on the wedding. But what I didn't realize at the time, that I actually realized when I was putting this message together, is that I didn't get off of Facebook and Instagram and social media and Twitter because God was calling me somewhere for a platform. I didn't know at the time, but I was getting off those things right before I went through the toughest emotional time of my life, and I was going off of there for God to put me in that capsule for healing. You see, what God did was he shut out every voice in my life. My life consisted of loving my wife the best that I could and trying to love my boys. And keeping all the noise out. I pastored the church. I led the best that I could. And I tried to survive. That's what it felt like. You know, for 3 years, probably 150 Sundays, to prepare messages and preach them felt a lot like cutting your foot 10,000 times and running 10 miles every week. That's kind of what it felt like in my spirit, preparing and preaching. At the time, I thought God was just doing something great. I didn't realize that the great was actually something he was healing, not something that I thought, and growing success and growing value. I'm so glad he saw it in a way that I couldn't, because my idea of contentment would have been very different. You know, my value, it's not found in the world. It's not found in fame. It's not found in reputation. It's not found in influence. It's not found in things that I drive or money. And the reason that I can tell you that, and I can say that not because I'm a pastor and you think I should have to say that, because I don't, but I can tell you that my contentment is nowhere near this world. Let me tell you why. Because I've been on the other side of it, where suicidal depression is real. I've been on the side of it where I've been up for nights on end, staring at a ceiling in panic attacks. I've been on the other side of it where you relive the moments of sexual abuse over and over and over and over and over. I've been on the other side of it where every day, 15, 20 times a day, you go through a very detailed, worked out plan of how to take your life for 2 years straight. I've been on that side. In the quietness, in the depth of a dark cave where nobody knew I was, and all of my friends were getting old and I wasn't. God worked out my faith. And for some of you, you know what that's like. You know what it's like to have to work out your faith and thinking God's doing one thing, but really he's doing something different. He wants to work out your faith. That's why I can tell you contentment looks different. Because quite frankly, when you've been there, everything else, you see how cheap it is. You see how empty it is. It's not hard for you to believe people that are well-known, that live in mansions, that have a ton of influence and more Instagram followers than all of us combined, take their life. It's not hard to understand that, because you realize how empty it is. Because contentment is being aligned with the things of God. He wants to do it in your life. And I believe in you will. And right now, I just want to pause. I don't know where you're at. I don't know what life looks like for you. But the greatest decision you will ever make is to follow Jesus. The greatest decision that you will ever say yes to is to say, God, I need you. Listen, this doesn't fix everything, but it's the beginning. It will. but you're going to have to be committed to him. Just like you're committed to other things, you're going to have to be committed to him more than you've committed to anything in your life. And you're going to have to trust him whenever things don't make sense. Would you just, wherever you're at, would you just close your eyes and bow your heads? And if you don't know Jesus, I want you just to say this prayer. I want you to say, "Dear Jesus, come into my life. I surrender all that I am to you. I give you my desires. I give you my dreams. I believe Jesus died, but lives today. And I surrender in Jesus' name." Listen, that's the greatest prayer you will ever pray. There's going to be some direction on how you tell us in the comments, email us, send us a direct message. There will be other ways that we're going to get you some information on how to do that, but let us know right now that you made that commitment, because we want to be a part of this journey with you. We want to make sure that you know how much we love you, that you're not in this alone, and that we take very seriously the process of being able to walk with you, regardless of where you're at. And this is what Jesus did. Nothing that you do is ever going to be more intense than what he did for you. And he is doing it every day for us, knowing that he would do it tomorrow if he had to. He doesn't have to, but he loves us that much. And so I want to give you one word of encouragement as we go, and it's this. It's a psalm that I repeat all the time, because you might say, "Okay, Brandon, but how do I get there? What's the mindset shift that has to happen?" It's Psalm 118, verse 24. And many of you may know this verse, but it says, "This is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it." And you know what I love about this verse? It says, "This is the day the Lord has made." That means he manufactured it. He created it. It wasn't just something that was on an assembly line, but he has strategically placed it, strategically placed things around it, strategically placed the details of it so that you could have the day that he made. And you know what it says for us to do? We have to rejoice. And that word rejoice, it doesn't just mean be excited. It means rejoice. Let's go. Let's go, right? It means let's celebrate. Let's rejoice. That's what it means to rejoice, because when you rejoice like that, you can be glad in it, because there's something different. There's something powerful. There's something special. So this is the day that he has made. We need to rejoice and be glad in it. It's a physical thing. And you might say, "Well, why is this verse the key?" Let me tell you why. Simplicity. This is the day he has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it, because contentment is about this moment, not the next. Let me pray with you. God, we thank you so much for each and every person. God, everybody watching online, everybody that's with us, knowing that, God, you are with them wherever they are at. The most powerful concept right now is for people to know that, God, you are with them, and they are sensing you as much in that living room as they are in a building with a bunch of other Christians. That, God, you transcend time, you transcend technology, you transcend pandemics, and you transcend what we think you should be. We thank you for that. We thank you that you are a God that will help us to align spiritually to things of you. We surrender to you. We love you. We praise you. We adore you. You are everything and more that you promised to be, and we thank you in Jesus' name. And everybody said, love you guys.
God, you're so good. God, you're so good. God, you're so good. You're so good to me. Sing, God, you're so good. God, you're so good. God, you're so good. You're so good to me. Singing, God, you're so good. God, you're so good. God, you're so good. You're so good to me. Sing it again, you lift your voice, singing, God, you're so good. Jesus' name. We say, God, you're so good. God, you're so good. Oh God, you're so good. You're so good to me. So one more time, every voice sing, God, you're so good. God, you're so good in every season. Oh God, you're so good. You're so good to me.
Come on, Lifehouse fam. Wasn't that incredible? Thank you, Brandon Shank. Love you, man. Thankful for you. Look, if you are somewhat brand new to our church, right after we jump off here, we are having a Zoom hangout time, and we want you to come and join us. The link will be provided by your service host in the comment section. Join on with us, and have some time hanging out with myself and some of the other leaders at our church. We would love for you to join us there. Really, really quick though, we want to share with you what we are doing for our community partner this month. Check it out.
Lifehouse family, May is National Foster Care Awareness Month, and we are happy to announce that We Are Echo is our community partner. We Are Echo is not a stranger to Lifehouse. Last year we contributed over 50 birthday boxes to foster children across Newport News. Before we share how we will be partnering with this amazing nonprofit, let me get Randall Nichols, Director of Partnerships, out here. Randall?
Hey man, what's up?
What's up, brother? We are pumped to be working with you again this year. Could you tell us a little bit about We Are Echo and why this is such an important ministry?
Yeah, for sure. First, let me just say thank you for your response last year. It was incredible. It blew us away. It blew our social workers away. So thank you guys for the support that you offered to the children of Newport News last year. Today, there are all across Hampton Roads, 1,000 kids living separated from their parents. They're living with grandparents, aunts, uncles, maybe an adult sibling, a family friend. Unfortunately, some are in hotel rooms and shelters and foster homes and group homes and transitional homes. There's a lot of upheaval in their lives. These children need stability. Stability comes from a stable home, and what we want to try to provide is more of that. But in order to provide stability for foster families, we've got to put a support system around. Unfortunately, more than half of these families lack the support that they need to care for the children that have been placed in their homes, and within a year, these families will make the decision to close their homes to placements. And we found that with support, with caring people stepping in to say, I see you, I'm here for you, let me help. These parents who are ready to throw in the towel, almost all of them, continue to provide care and stability to the children that are in their home for years. And what's even cooler is those individuals who stepped in to provide care, a third of them will open up their homes to children as well. It becomes this self-sustaining system where more children are consistently receiving the stability of a lasting, loving family.
Love what you guys are doing in and for the community. Randall, how can we, your Lifehouse family, come alongside you to show our love and support to foster children in our area?
Yeah, there's a few ways. One, there's a dire need for foster parents in Newport News. There are nearly 200 kids placed in foster care right here in the city, but less than 60 active homes to receive them. That's a significant need, a big gap. We'd love to help close that gap. To do that, we want to answer any questions that you have for anybody who's been considering serving children in this way. But as you mentioned, the families who step in to provide care for children, they're going to need us to be there for them. Parenting children, I think if you have children, you know, parenting is not an easy calling, but parenting children from hard places can have added challenges. And parents in these roles need their church and their community to circle around them. And we'd love to put 3 to 5 individuals around every vulnerable family and form a support circle to help make sure they succeed. And finally, in the COVID-19 crisis, foster families have been hit especially hard. We received a request last week from social services to help them provide a COVID safety bag to each of the 59 families who are caring for children in Newport News.
If you are a foster parent or relational foster parent, a grandparent taking care of grandkids, or uncle and aunt taking care of nieces and nephews, and could use a circle of support, please text FOSTER to the number at the bottom of the screen. If you would like to be part of a loving circle of support surrounding a foster family, please text CIRCLE to the number at the bottom of the screen. We want at least 3 to 5 circle of support individuals or families around each of our foster families in need. If you would like to contribute a foster family safety COVID bag, please text BAG to the number at the bottom of the screen. We have 59 families that we will be providing these bags to. Lifehouse family, it is because of your giving that we are able to support life-giving organizations like We Are Echo. Thank you for your faithfulness, and may God bless each of you and keep you safe.
Thank you again for joining us online today. We hope you are encouraged and inspired to take the next step on your faith journey. And on behalf of our church, we want to say that we're praying for you and your family as you navigate this crazy and unprecedented time that we're living in. And our desire at Lifehouse is to help you in any way that we can during this time through prayer, practical help, connecting with people in the community, and making sure that they get help as well. If there's any way that we can help, please reach out. During this time more than ever, you need hope and you need encouragement, and that's what our online services are here for. You need to be connected into a church family. And although at this time we can't invite you to join us at a physical location, we can invite you to join us online every Sunday at 9 a.m., 10:30 a.m., or 4:30 p.m. right here at lifehousenn.online.church. In the meantime, you can keep in touch with us through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and lifehousenn.com. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we hope to see you next Sunday.